So why does following through on promises build trust? Well, your daughter is constantly observing whether your words align with your actions. That's what I did. Do your words, Mom, align with the actions you said you would do? Research have shown that consistency and reliability in parents that foster emotional security and trust in their children say that this is vital. A study published in Journal of Adolescence found that parental reliability is directly linked to a teenager's willingness to confide in their parents. Parental reliability. Do you keep your promises? Do you follow through with them? Coincides with whether or not they're willing to confide in you. So when we think about creating open communication and building trust with our teenagers, it really starts with us. Do we keep our word? When you're consistent with that, your daughter is going to feel safe coming to you with her thoughts, struggles, and questions, right? That was almost an aha moment for me to think about, like, yes, you're right. And it made me think of that story back at the mall of a promise that my mom didn't keep. Do you have those type of stories in your head of a promise that your mom didn't keep with you? And how did that make you feel? And did it lessen the trust that you had in her, right? Trust isn't built overnight, but it can be broken very quickly. And you know that too, being a mom. If you make a promise and fail to follow through, especially repeatedly, okay, not just the first offense, but multiple offenses, your daughter may begin to doubt whether she can count on you. And if she can't count on you in the small things, she may even hesitate to trust you with the big things. Welcome back, Mama. We are continuing on our Build Trust with Your Teenage Daughter series. If you missed the first episode, you can go back and listen to that right after this one. And that one was a good one on listening without judgment. And today we are continuing by diving into a powerful but often overlooked key to trust building, which is following through on your promises. If you say you'll do something, whether it's picking her up on time or respecting her privacy or handling a situation discreetly, stick to it. Your daughter needs to see you as a reliable, dependable to truly trust you. Let's explore why keeping promises matters, when to make them, when to hold off on them, and how you can set an example of integrity in your own home. I promise you'll find it very helpful. If you are frustrated with how to get your teenage daughter to open up to you because all you want is to connect with her as you once did, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Jeannie Baldomero, a former rebellious teen, now mom of 3 young adults, educator, and the mom mentor, equipping you to create open communication with your girl so she can come to you about anything, even if she's scared. So grab your oat milk latte, breathe, and let's do this together. Okay, Mama, are you finding yourself feeling frustrated trying to figure out your girl in this stage and not getting far with maybe even asking some questions? She's just like a stone wall. Mouths are closed, or even just getting one-word answers, or maybe an attitude that you didn't ask for because you're simply asking a question just because you want to know more about her because she's not talking to you. You literally get one word or even a shrug or the silent treatment or maybe a roll of the eye. I get you. I honestly read many books to unravel this mystery of connecting with my once sweet little girl. What happened? Why all of a sudden she's a different girl? And then I even question, have I failed as a mom raising her? What did I do to deserve this? What if I said something that will cause consequences that maybe we won't have a great relationship? Or even worse, maybe I'm pushing her away enough that she'll not want to share with me again. Okay, maybe that was a bit dramatic, but really, who else thinks this way? I hope it's not just me. Mom guilt at its finest. And our teenage daughter has a great way of finding that mom guilt card and flashing it in our faces. So, you know what? I decided things needed to change. I couldn't get into that spiral, that roller coaster ride that my daughter was taking me on. Actually, my kids were taking me on. So I asked myself, what did I need as a young teenage mom? So I decided things are going to change. This kind of brought some traumatic experiences as a 13-year-old myself and what I had put my mom through, but I had to really dig deep and revisit that young Jeannie. I asked myself, what did I need as a young teenager? And go do that. I'm able to connect with my girl better than my mom did with me. And as a young adult now, she loves making connections, is brutally, and I say brutally, honest with me, with her feelings. But that's what I welcome. I want her to be open and trust me. We've done the work together by establishing a safe space for her to talk. And I want to help you do the same too, Mama. My Talk to Your Teen Girl framework allows me to walk you through a step-by-step actionable lessons that will help you create open communication with your daughter so that you can connect with her once again. You'll learn how to establish a safe space, learn how to respond to your daughter so she will feel heard and understood, as well as printable templates that allow you to guide your discussion so it's not as emotional as it can be and you get the conversation going. Let's do this together. Create open communication with your daughter so she can come to you even when she's scared. Head to talktoyourteengirl.com. That's talktoyourteengirl.com. I think I've shared this story on this show before. It was 1986. The mall was all the craze in those days, and 80s fashions was fire. I remember going on those rare occasions with my mom to Charlotte Russe and found this black blazer that I really wanted. Funny story is that I'm still into black blazers, but this was a black blazer with a thick shoulder pads. And I already imagined all the outfits with the scrunchies and all of that would go with this blazer. Well, she said she would get it for me when she got paid. Sweet, right? Come her payday, I was ready to go grab that blazer I was eyeing on and waiting patiently for because my mom said she was going to buy it for me, right? Then my mom dropped the hammer on me and she said it was too expensive and she couldn't afford to buy it for me. I was extremely upset because I had depended on this promise she had made with me and that the hope I had in having this coveted blazer. Okay, hindsight, it almost sounds like I was a spoiled kid that didn't get what she wanted. But I think the point is that she made a promise with me and it was broken. I look back with more grace that my mom simply couldn't afford it. And there were so many more other expenses that she had to simply put and not into a blazer that I wanted for a few months, right? However, this little promise in my 13-year-old brain was a catalyst to breaking the trust I had over my mom, that keeping her word was something that I can trust her with. Oh, ouch, right? These are the little promises that we talk about. It wasn't about the blazer. It wasn't about whether or not I was wronged a blazer because I really wanted it. It was keeping her word. So why does following through on promises build trust? Well, your daughter is constantly observing whether your words align with your actions. That's what I did. Do your words, Mom, align with the actions you said you would do? Research have shown that consistency and reliability in parents that foster emotional security and trust in their children say that this is vital. A study published in Journal of Adolescence found that parental reliability is directly linked to a teenager's willingness to confide in their parents. Parental reliability. Do you keep your promises? Do you follow through with them? Coincides with whether or not they're willing to confide in you. So when we think about creating open communication and building trust with our teenagers, it really starts with us. Do we keep our word? When you're consistent with that, your daughter is going to feel safe coming to you with her thoughts, struggles, and questions, right? That was almost an aha moment for me to think about, like, yes, you're right. And it made me think of that story back at the mall of a promise that my mom didn't keep. Do you have those type of stories in your head of a promise that your mom didn't keep with you? And how did that make you feel? And did it lessen the trust that you had in her, right? Trust isn't built overnight, but it can be broken very quickly. And you know that too, being a mom. If you make a promise and fail to follow through, especially repeatedly, okay, not just the first offense, but multiple offenses, your daughter may begin to doubt whether she can count on you. And if she can't count on you in the small things, she may even hesitate to trust you with the big things. Okay, now you're probably feeling a little antsy in your seat or thinking, oh my gosh, she's pointing the finger at me. Or maybe you're just feeling convicted of what I just shared. Mama, you are not alone. Again, we are imperfect people learning the process of how life works. And in my time, in my day, I had to have learned this lesson many, many times about what I say yes to, what I say no to, and what am I agreeing upon. It has caused me lots and lots of trial and error and accountability on my kids' parts about what I've said and whether or not I'm keeping my word. So believe me, this comes from lots of trial and error and experience in my own parenting. So we all are working in a work in progress here. Okay, it's not about perfection. It's about how do we improve better each day over time. So if you continue to listen with me, let's move on and step forward in this subject of promises. When is it a great time to make a promise and when to say, let me get back to you, right? You're not saying yes, you're not saying no, but you're giving yourself some space to think about it. And one of the most common mistakes we do make as parents is saying yes too quickly, right? In the moment, like it was a good idea. And then realizing that I can't back my promise up, just like what my mom did, right? She was excited. I was excited. And she said, oh, I'll do it then, and realized she couldn't back her promise. How do we discern that, right? You're probably thinking, okay, I've done that before. How do I discern that to make a firm promise and when to hold off? Okay, well, let's go over it. I'm going to walk you through this. Things you can and should promise. And I don't want to should you. Things you can promise. Showing up on time. That's something reliable, right? Whether it's pick up at school or at an event or just watching a movie together, honoring your word in the small things strengthens trust. Just show up on time. If you're a person that is likes to make a grand entrance, aka is late often, put a timer on your phone. We have our phones in our pockets. Put a timer just to simply remind you, hey, get up and go so you can show up on time. Respecting her privacy. If you tell her you won't read her journal or snoop through her phone, don't betray that trust unless there is a serious safety concern, okay? Or if you're not willing to allow her full coverage of her phone, full ownership of her phone, because one, she's probably too young. Two, she just got the phone. Don't make that promise. Don't make that promise. Allow her to earn that privacy, okay? Keeping a conversation private. Oh, this is a big one. If she confides in you and you promise discretion, respect that. If it's something that requires parental intervention, let her know in advance that you may need to involve others. Okay, that means you need to go find help, right? Let me help you find help and resources that can help you in this situation, right? That's when you need to share the story with someone else. In our household, our kids know anything that I know, your dad will know, and that we are both safe people. I recall many times my daughter would say, "Can you not tell dad?" And I would tell her straight, "I can't keep that promise." And that was not a promise I would make. And I said, "But I can guarantee you, your dad will not react the way you think he's going to react." Right? Or maybe give her the option that if you don't want me to tell your dad, then you need to be able to tell your dad yourself. And advocate for her. Things you can promise is advocating for her. Who doesn't want to advocate for their own child? If you promise to speak up for her with a teacher or a coach or another adult, follow through so she knows she can count on you. When you say she's already tried talking to her teacher, she's already tried negotiating something with a coach, but it's not working out, offer to step in and advocate for her. That doesn't mean you speak for her, but you're advocating for her. Okay, now when to say, let me get back to you. When to say, okay, I'm not going to say yes to this promise. I need to think about it. I'm going to get back to you. Maybe spontaneous requests for big commitments. Like if she asks for a trip or a big purchase or a blazer purchase, or maybe a major schedule change that impacts not just her, but all of you. Maybe it needs time to take some assessing before agreeing to it. Those type of things need some time for you to get back to and not make any promises around those, right? Maybe situations involving others. If her request involves another parent, a friend, or a teacher, maybe check the details before making the commitment. Maybe it's, can I sleep over my friend's house next weekend? And you're saying yes, meaning I promise that I'll let you go. Maybe before doing that, connect with the other parent and maybe the friend and understand what's going on at this sleepover before immediately saying yes and committing to it. And also emotional or heat of the moment requests. Now, we know in the teen stage, things get heightened and extremely emotional. If she asks for something while tensions are high, like, well, I want to do this, and this, right? Because she's extremely upset and you want to make her feel better. It's okay to say, I need to think about this first. When she starts to argue with you and is pressing you for a yes, well, I need to think about this first. Allow me, I'm not going to say yes. Allow me to think about it. And I promise I will get back to you. So the promise could be, I promise to give you an answer, but you're not going to get the answer. It may not be the answer of yes, right? So pausing before making a promise prevents yourself from making commitments that you know you can't keep or that haven't thought thoroughly and realizing that I can't keep it. And this is preserving trust rather than damaging it, right? When you are making a pause before making a promise, you're actually preserving the trust rather than damaging it because you're not making that commitment. So what to do? Okay, mamas, I've been here too, where we've discerned and we've made this promise and then you realize, geez, I cannot follow through with it. We made that mistake of having a promise, making a promise, and now we can't follow through with it. Life happens, right? Let's be real. You might promise to pick her up, but got stuck in traffic. Right? Things you cannot control. You might commit to a quiet evening together, but then need to handle a work emergency. Or when something prevents you from keeping your word, you have to acknowledge it immediately. Right? Acknowledge it immediately. Go to her right away. This is how you can do that, by apologizing sincerely. I know I said I'd be there at 3:30 and I was late. I'm really sorry. Or explain why. Without making excuses. Nobody likes excuses, but you can explain. Traffic was worse than I expected. I should have left earlier. The reason why you were late, but taking responsibility of that problem. I should have left earlier, right? It puts it back on you. And make it right. Make it right. If possible, offer an alternative or make it up to her in a meaningful way. These are the keys to show you that you are taking your promises seriously and that you care about how your actions really do affect her. This helps you model integrity and dependability. Your daughter learns what integrity looks like by watching you. When she sees you following through with your word, even if it's inconvenient, she learns the value of dependability. This also means being honest when you make a mistake. And you know, Mama, we're going to be making mistakes. Not making empty threats. If you don't clean your room, I'm taking your phone for a month when you don't intend to, right? Let's avoid making those, I always call them grab in the air threats because they're not doing something. Grab in the air consequences because you want them to move forward and do something. If they don't do this, right, then I'm gonna give you a drastic consequence. In Talk to Your Teen Girl framework, we actually talk about boundaries and consequences. Those are actually one of the bonus materials that I give you if you sign up for the VIP, is really breaking down the boundaries in the teen stage and what the consequences are. So you don't have to make these empty threats. You know exactly what these consequences are, and your daughter knows that is a definite promise, right? That will happen if we don't do this. So avoid making those empty promises and empty threats. That just tells them that you're not going to follow through. And then holding yourself to the same standard you expect from her, right? If she says something, when she tells you something and you expect her to do it, are you also expecting that she's going to expect when you say something that you're going to do it, right? Holding the same standards is building trust, really. It's really keeping those promises, holding yourself accountable for what you say. So when your daughter sees that you are reliable, she will be more likely to really mirror that reliability in her own life. She knows what that means to keep your own word, and she knows the impact it makes when you don't. And when she does make the mistake, she knows how to make it right. So building trust with your daughter takes time. But one of the most impactful things you can do is follow through on your promises. Be intentional about what you commit to. Be honest when you can't follow through. And model integrity in everyday life. These small but powerful actions will strengthen your relationship and show that she can count on you no matter what. That's what promises are for. So, Mama, I hope you found this very helpful. This was our second episode in Build Trust with Your Teenage Daughter. We have 3 more to go, and I hope to see you on the next one. And if you found this very helpful and you feel like you can pass this on to a fellow mama who is also raising a tween or teen daughter, please do. Text this episode over to her so she can listen to it as well. Hey, friend, if this podcast inspired you or encouraged you or helped you in any way, I'd love for you to share it. You can screenshot this episode and share it in your stories on social media or text it to a friend who can use the support. It's the best way you can thank me. I want to let other mamas know they are not alone. I'd love to stay connected with you. You can find me at raisingherconfidently.com. Until next time, live full of grace, Jeannie.